Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. A topic that we love on this show, a topic that you guys and girls love as consumers, and that is a good old juicy college football coaching rumor. Now look, here's the deal. I don't necessarily talk about all of these rumors, but again, you guys love them. If they come from a credible source, if I think that they're interesting, we're going to discuss. And what I will tell you is I actually think the rumors are really going to be rampant, insane, intense this season for one specific reason. There is a former three-time national championship winning head coach that is currently on the sidelines, currently doing TV for Fox Sports and Big Noon Kickoff. His name is Urban Meyer. And it did not even take until week one of the season. We're not even at week one. And we already have our first Urban Meyer coaching rumor. Boy, oh boy, let's get right into it. And so the rumor came on, I guess it would have been Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon, really picked up steam late Wednesday into Thursday. And it came from Dan Patrick, national radio host, blah, 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 Fox Sports Radio, 9 to noon Eastern time. Dan Patrick, pretty plugged in guy. He's been doing this a long time. And I don't know exactly how the name Urban Meyer came up, but Dan Patrick sure did have some interesting things to say about Urban Meyer. Here is what Dan Patrick said on the Dan Patrick Show. He said, I had some correspondence with my college football source, he said on Wednesday, Dan Patrick. We were talking about Meyer, and I said, could you see Urban Meyer getting back into coaching? You know what my source said? So-and-so, I guess Paul Pabst, who's his executive producer, is onto something with Nebraska. Here is the money quote. Let's say Nebraska could be in play for Meyer. Maybe. Apparently, in the conversation, Dan Patrick also mentioned that Arizona State, currently coached by Herm Edwards, could be in the conversation. And so, again, it is not even week one, and we already have our first Urban Meyer coaching rumor. Let's break it down, and let me explain to you why. I don't know about Arizona and Nebraska specifically, but I do believe this report, and I'm just going to be honest. I believe that at some point in the next decade, next couple of years, Urban Meyer is going to be a college football coach again, so let's get into it. So first of all, I think whenever we see a report like this, it is important always to note where did it come from, who's saying it, all that good stuff. To me, Dan Patrick, who's been in the business for 30 or 40 years at this point, that's a lot different than sliced bread over on the Bro Bible message boards, okay? Dan Patrick has been doing this for a long time, and while he's not a college football insider, I do think it's important to note one simple thing. If you remember back to COVID, Dan Patrick, whoever his source or sources are in the Big Ten, he was like 2 or 3 days ahead of all of the other college football insiders. Remember when there were 2 or 3 college football insiders, I won't name names, but you all know who they are. They were basically the mouthpiece of Kevin Warren. Well, Dan Patrick was like a day or two ahead of all of them. He was the first one to really go out and say, I believe for sure this season is getting canceled. If you remember, he was the one that had the information that ended up being correct, that Nebraska was really one of the schools that was really pushing to play, that Iowa was really pushing to play that year. And so I don't remember all the details, but I do believe that Dan Patrick, I think there is something to it. And what I would also say is, I do think Urban Meyer wants to coach, right? I mean, we now have a 15-year track record. Urban Meyer, he doesn't stay at jobs for a long time, but the most unhappy that he is, now he doesn't strike me as a super happy guy when he's coaching, but the most unhappy he is when he's not coaching. Left Florida, did TV for a year, immediately goes to Ohio State, leaves Ohio State, does TV for a year or two, then goes to the NFL, doesn't work out in the NFL, now he's back in TV. Urban Meyer's 58 years old. You think he's going to do TV for the next 20 years? Because I don't think so. And so to me, I do think Urban Meyer is going to check out the landscape. The landscape is going to check out Urban Meyer. And as I said, I think eventually there's going to be something to it. Now, as for these two teams specifically, let me just say a couple things. One, Arizona State, let's just go ahead and cross them off the list, okay? Urban Meyer to Arizona State, we will have Martians land on the moon, Martians land on planet Earth. We will go back to a 2-team BCS format before we go to a 12-team college football playoff before Urban Meyer goes to Arizona State. The thing that strikes me about that is a couple things. One, Urban Meyer is going to go to a place where he can win a national championship. He's not going anywhere where he cannot compete at the highest levels. It was funny. I don't think I talked about it on this show, but somehow in the middle of the summer, there was like a report in one of the local Ohio newspapers over the summer that Bowling Green could potentially be an option for Urban Meyer down the road. That was his first head coaching job. Maybe he goes back there and kind of comes full circle and retires. And it's like, Urban Meyer's not going back to Bowling Green. Urban Meyer's not going somewhere where maybe he can win the MAC, but then he's going to play 2 or 3 bye games against the Big Ten and get destroyed. And he's not going to Arizona State, especially in this new climate in college football where NIL is a factor. I'm telling you, I know the Arizona State kind of culture, ecosystem. I have a lot of people that I know there. They're behind in NIL. They don't have the insane boosters that are going to do anything to put a team on a winning field. And then on top of that, I mean, is Urban Meyer going to go to a place where we don't even know, as of right now today, what conference they're going to play in, if they're going to have access to the postseason? It's not going to happen. And then finally, from the Arizona State perspective, what I can say is the place is really poorly run, at least the athletic department. Remember, the athletic director is Herm Edwards' former agent, has kept Herm Edwards on probably 2 or 3 years longer than he should have. And I can tell you, like at Arizona State, they don't even have the competence or I don't know, intelligence isn't the right word. I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. They wouldn't even think to call Urban Meyer, let alone have the you-know-what to actually pull off Urban Meyer. So let's just take Arizona State off the table. Now, from the Nebraska perspective, I could kind of sort of see it, and let me explain why. I do think Nebraska, as I said on Monday's show, it's never going to be 1994 again. It's never going to be Tommy Frazier and Amon Green and Lawrence Phillips. But at the same time, as I said on Monday's show, in the NIL era and the transfer portal era, and as we just discussed a minute ago, the 12 to 16 team playoff era, is there a scenario where Nebraska can finish in third place in the Big Ten, get into an expanded playoff? I think so, and I do think if this job comes open, and I do think that it probably will, I think it's probably going to be more appealing than a lot of people think it is. I think there's a lot of people that are like, Nebraska thinks it's 1994 and they should be competing for championships. I mean, I talk to Nebraska fans. You guys comment on my YouTube channel. You guys send me private messages on Twitter and Instagram. I don't get the sense that any Nebraska fans want it to be 1998 again and competing. I mean, they want it. I don't think most expect it, though. And so from the Nebraska perspective, I could kind of see both sides, right? I mean, you want to get back to the top. There is one coach that guarantees you to get back to the top, but let's never forget, Bo Pelini was also there. Bo Pelini was hard to deal with. He did not jive well with that Nebraska fan base, and so I could kind of see the scenario where, Nebraska wants to win, but do they really want to bring in Urban Meyer to do it? I don't know. And again, I think it'd be very interesting to note what kind of candidates could potentially be available if that job opens up. By the way, keep in mind, Matt Rule, Carolina Panthers head coach, he could be out of a job looking to get back into college football. Had a ton of success at Baylor. Could he be a candidate at Nebraska? Matt Campbell at Iowa State. You could go on and on. I'm just saying I think there's going to be interesting candidates. So I can't sit here and say that Nebraska would want Urban Meyer, that Urban Meyer would want Nebraska. But to kind of put a bow on this, what I would say is it speaks to something that I have been adamant about even before Urban Meyer got fired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe Urban Meyer is going to be a college football coach again before it's all said and done. And if you listen to all these other talking heads and whatever, blah, 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 I think some of them, they just don't think critically. First of all, Urban Meyer is only 58 years old, okay? Urban Meyer's 58 years old. Nick Saban is about to be 72 years old. So Urban Meyer's got a runway of about 12 to 15 years that he could still do this at a pretty high level. And as I said a minute ago, I don't think he wants to do TV for the next 10 years, be a grandpa and retire. He's Urban freaking Meyer. He's a competitor. He's the biggest, you ask people that have been around him, they've never seen anyone who handles losing less, who needs to compete, who needs to be challenged at the highest level. People talk about his competitiveness in a way that I've never heard really anybody talk about such a thing. So I do think that he is going to coach again. And as I've said many times, I think there's an awful lot of schools that wouldn't even, consider it, right? Like USC a few years ago when Clay Helton, we all kind of knew it was going to be over. It came out pretty publicly. Their school president was just like, we're not doing it. We're not touching him. We're not having the conversation. We're not talking to his agent. We're not anything. So USC's out of the picture. Obviously, we know that for years Notre Dame was a dream job. Notre Dame's not taking Urban Meyer, and they obviously have Marcus Freeman. But I'm just saying Notre Dame is the type of job that would never even call Urban Meyer, and that's okay. Every candidate isn't right for every job. But there are other schools that I absolutely think are going to make the call. Because I do think there are some schools, maybe like Nebraska, maybe, as I've said many times, like Texas. They're just tired of losing. They're tired of getting their brains beat in, and they want to compete at the highest level. And there is only one guy available that guarantees if you hire him today, within 2 years he is going to have you competing at the highest level, and that is Urban Meyer. And so to me, at some point, somebody is going to bite the bullet because he is the only guy that guarantees that. And at the end of the day, most of these schools, they can put on a front about academics and this and that. They just want to win football games. And you know what the interesting thing that I think about all the time is, especially now in this NIL world, where boosters have more power than ever, where collectives have more power, where collectives are now putting together a recruiting class more than the coaching staff is, where collectives have more say than many administrators do. Even if the president says no, even if the AD says no, you know what the boosters are going to do? Boosters are just going to get another AD to get the guy that they want, which is Urban Meyer to coach their football team. Look at what just happened at Auburn last week. Auburn's AD basically, they just didn't renew his contract because he went out, he got Brian Harsin. The Auburn boosters didn't want Brian Harsin. They said, okay, you got your hire. We're not giving you a new contract. And so I'm getting off the rails here, but the point that I'm trying to make is in this NIL world, I think boosters are going to have more control than ever before. And boosters are fans. And fan is short for fanatic. And fans just want to win, baby. And so I do believe that someone, like I said, he's not going to be for everybody. I think somebody's going to take a plunge. Maybe not this offseason, maybe not next offseason, maybe it is this offseason. But at some point, there's going to be some program. Maybe Texas, maybe Florida State, maybe Nebraska, that is just tired of losing, tired of getting their brains beat in and say, you know what? There's only one guy that guarantees to get us back to the top of college football. Let's go get that guy. Urban Meyer, baby. Urban Meyer rumor season is back, and it is better than ever.